Hello, I'm Michela and Head of Operations in Professional Development, and this is my colleague Rachel.
I'm the Quality and Accreditation Executive at Professional Development.
In this video, we will be talking about the CMI accreditation, how you're going to go through your assignments and how we can support you throughout your journey. This is my colleague James. James is an Associate Trainer in Professional Development. James, would you like to take it over from here?
Yeah, thank you, Michaela and Rachel. Yeah, I just thought we'd try and run through a few kind of basics around the qualification and accreditation side of the courses that we run. So the courses that we offer are accredited on the whole by the Chartered Management Institute, the CMI. They're one of two main professional awarding bodies in the UK, the other being the Institute of Leadership and Management, the ILM. Both are, pretty much on a par in terms of the credibility they offer you as a professional doing their qualifications. Both are recognised across the world, and we just happen to have chosen the CMI as our primary partner as a provider. There is a little web link there, so if you want to have a look at them, it's www.managers.org.uk. The actual way that the qualifications are put together through the CMI are as shows here. So we have three kind of levels of qualification, if you like. We have the award and certificate. Diploma is something we're trying to work on, but it's in design phase at the moment, and we've obviously been a little bit delayed on that with what's been happening out there in the world. But we do offer awards and certificates at both level 5 and level 7. So the award is roughly half the size of the certificate in terms of the amount of time it takes to complete. And that's the difference between the award certificate and diploma, really. It's just the breadth of the qualification. There's just more time and commitment required to complete each of those. Then the level is an indication of how much sophistication or depth is required in that particular subject. So level 5 is kind of pitched towards your operational managers, people who are managing perhaps small teams or aspiring leaders of the future maybe. Level 7 is more for people who've got probably significant experience already. They may be a director, senior executive, maybe a business owner, and they will be required to answer questions at obviously a deeper kind of level for their qualifications. The way we put them together is dependent upon whether it's an award or a certificate. We choose from the syllabus a combination of units which meets the requisite credit threshold. Credits are an indication of how much time it's estimated will be required to complete that particular unit. And so this is an example from our level 7 courses where we have a combination of units 704 and 714, which are a nice combination when we put them together, because one of them kind of helps people to look at their individual development as leaders, and the second one looks at the organizational strategy. So we find them quite a nice combination to run together. And as you can see, both in this case, they have 9 credits awarded each for each of the 2 units, which gets you above the necessary 14 credits required to comprise a certificate in strategic management and leadership.
James, sorry to disturb you.
Yeah.
In practical terms, what does it mean? How many hours will it need to in order to complete my qualification? How many hours of study will I need to do?
Yeah, that's a good point. So the classroom phase is actually the smallest part of the study required to complete the whole qualification, in actual fact. We just don't have the time in the classroom to go through all the different models and all the different questions that exist on the units, and if we did, it probably quite a dry program, to be honest. It gets a bit techie. What we try to do in the classroom is give people a bit of inspiration, maybe the chance to speak with peers and other people and have a fresh environment and challenge some existing thinking, maybe. We'll give them some core, some of the real foundational building block stuff that they need, but they'll be required for an individual unit, probably depending on how academically capable somebody is and how much experience they have. You'd be looking at somewhere around a week on the lower end to complete a unit. It could be 2-3 weeks for somebody who needs to invest a little bit more time and effort into it. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll just also run through the kind of whole life cycle of doing the qualification with INPD. So there's an initial registration and engagement with your sales representative at INPD to try and identify the most suitable course for your needs. Then we move on from that phase to where you've booked onto a course and you attend for either, could be, we do 1-day masterclasses or 1-day short form courses, or we do 3, 4-day or even 5-day course. So just depending on what you've chosen, you'll be in the classroom phase, taking the facilitated learning from the tutor and your peers. After that point then is kind of the qualification bit. So that's where, if you want to go ahead and do the written work to complete the full qualification, you'd need to let us know by a second registration, which we then pass on to the CMI. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens from there to help you at that point of need with assignment writing and completing the whole qualification phase. So that goes from registration, where the clock starts ticking. We send you some more relevant information out then relevant to writing. You get access to Management Direct, which is CMI's own online learning platform, which is a good resource to have. And various other bits and pieces. You get access to our tutorials, which are free as well. But really, that's when the onus is on the learners to go ahead and do self-guided learning. It'll be necessary to read some books, to do some research, and learn how to kind of apply some of that research and learning into the real world, ideally. And when the whole thing's finished, hopefully in less than 1 year, then we get to a point where the number of assignments that are required to complete the qualification are passed. And on that point, then a certificate's raised by the CMI, which is delivered to the individual, and they can put it on the CV and hopefully look forward to their next course with us.
Sorry, James, how long does registration take with the CMI after the course?
Yeah, so we tend to register once a month, maybe twice a month, depending on how busy we are. And so depending on when the course finishes, it should be less than 4 weeks, we say. So for some people, they might find it quite quick. Other people, it might be 4 weeks. Once you are registered, you'll get a direct email from the CMI, which will contain your logon details. So students need to, look out for that and log on and create their account. Then they have their own individual learner account with the CMI, and they have access to that and the resources on there for as long as they're studying, so until they complete their qualification.
Great, thank you.
Okay. I just touch on the actual assignment bit, not in too much detail yet, because this is probably before people will be actually doing their assignments, but what we're looking for is a kind of an overall compliance structure around each assignment that's been written by students. So we need to have things like the word count contained within the assignment needs to be presented on the first page. We need the learner name, the learner number, which will be provided to them on CMI registration when they'll get a number that starts with a P, which will be their individual learner number, the name of the qualification they're attempting. Page numbers on each page are required, please. And another thing that I'll just flag is that it's really important that people are familiar with referencing when they come into doing their writing. So ideally what we're looking for is for there to be an in-text citation where a model, theory, an article or something is referenced within or used as part of somebody's answer. We need to see, well, okay, where's that come from? And then also at the end of the document, a list, a table of all the recommendations and citations that have been used throughout the document with a detailed pathway to find the original source. The purpose of that, of course, is that assessors who are marking the work can easily check the primary source of information people have used, if needs be, to check the veracity of it, and just to kind of get some more context around it if they need to do. So that's the kind of Harvard's referencing system that we suggest people follow. In terms of when you submit, the email should come through to cmi@inpd.co.uk. And every submission, please, should have the assignment, obviously, along with the context statement and a statement of authenticity. Those are the kind of 3 core component parts of compliance that we need with every submission so that we can then send that on to the CMI's marking service for students. So the context statement is, again, something we can talk to people, about closer to the time. It's just around helping the assessor to understand your organisation, your team or department, and you individually, and how that relates to the qualification you're attempting to complete. And the authenticity statement is just around, it's basically a hygiene check to make sure that you tick the box to say that the work is your own and original, hasn't been copied, and that your word count's okay and you signed it, all that kind of stuff. So, but we'll help people with that when we come through towards the actual assignment writing phase after course in the classroom. And I just thought I'd give a few quick tips on writing the actual assignments as well. So this kind of feedback we get from the CMI directly. We're in regular conversation with their quality team to make sure that we're trying to give our students as much help as we reasonably can to pass as efficiently as possible when they go through the process. So the first thing is obviously to just answer the question, no more, no less, but the question, and to make sure within that answer people have understood the command verb. Now, the command verb is the kind of actionable part of every question, and we'll ask people to either analyze or discuss or critically review or critically appraise. Each of those terms has a very specific academic meaning, and students should familiarize themselves with what they are before they go on an attempt to answer that particular question. When you're answering, please try to make sure you've used a theory, concept, or model to underpin that answer and how it might apply to your real world context and relate to your previous experience as well. That may well be something that you've come across in the classroom that the tutors facilitate with you, or it could be something completely different. It's absolutely fine as long as it's correct for the answer and it informs the answer and it's referenced. Then you don't have to use just what's in the classroom. It could be anything you've found yourself. Try and be concise with your answers because the word count is fairly tight. With that in mind, if you do kind of look at your assignment and you find it more efficient to roll up several questions into just one answer, then be very careful with that. Again, we will give guidance on that in tutorials if you come across that situation, but just to be conscious of best practice guidance really is to write down one question followed by the answer, and then another question, and then another answer. So kind of a tabular form, if you like, so that the assessor can very quickly and easily get to exactly where they need to go to see whether you've met the required learning outcome or not. There is help given by obviously your tutors, but also by the CMI in their guidance documents on the unit synopsis and the unit assignment or assessment brief, within which there'll be books, there'll be authors, there'll be other resources signposted to students to try and help them to answer the questions that have been asked. There's lots of resource in there. The other thing is the management direct that I mentioned. So on registration and on creating their account with the CMI, they get access to management direct, which is a source of videos, journals, and other materials that the CMI have put together for each qualification to help you. Tutorials, as I said, are free, so please use those. And also, the submission process is quite black and white. Your work, when it's marked, is either it's met the standard and it's a pass, in which case move on, and either you've got your full qualification or you move on to your next assignment, or it's not quite met the standard, in which case it's classed as a refer, a polite fail. And what they'll do then is the assessor will send your work back with some guidance comments on where they feel you might want to just try and tweak your answers and responses a little bit. So armed with that information, students can go away, they can edit and reform their assignments and resubmit, and 9 times out of 10 then people will pass the resubmission if they don't pass the initial one. And that's pretty much a quick whip through. Are there any questions that I haven't covered, do you think?
Yes, one quick question, James. You did touch upon this earlier. However, we mentioned about tutorials and workshops. How many of these are scheduled a month, and what kind of content are there in these workshops that can support me as a student going throughout the CMI journey?
Yeah, okay. So we run at least one tutorial per month for every different type of course. So if it's a level 7 leadership course, there'll be one a month. Level 7 coaching and mentoring course, there'll be one a month of those. So we give people regular access to them. They are free for the duration of your studies, so people can come in and engage with it and go away and do some writing as much and as often as they wish. The actual format then, we have a high volume of students coming through, some of whom may have actually done the course in the classroom some time ago. And so we have a foundation tutorial which kind of covers the stuff we've talked about today, plus some additional material which helps people at the point of need of writing. Okay, so we give some more specific guidance on actual assignment writing at that stage, and some of the definitions of things and all that kind of stuff. And we'll be able to signpost people to other resources that might help them at that point. We also produce some specific material based on individual units or assessment criteria. So if you come across a particular question on one of the units that you're trying to attempt and you're a bit stuck with it, we'll try and give you some guidance as much as we can. Clearly, the tutors, we can't give the content, but we can give the process, we can give the structures, we can help you with how to structurally go around answering a question, and give you maybe a couple of ideas about things you might want to look at as you go around your answer. So we try and give a range of things. It's an iteration process, to be honest, so we like to get people's feedback. What we want to do is try and get people supported as much as we possibly can. And so if there's anything that people come across that they're confused about or think we could improve upon, we really actively encourage that kind of feedback as well. So we'll try and address those needs where we find a need.
Thank you.
Is there anything else?
One more thing. Could you just tell me a little bit more about the word count and how strict that perhaps is?
Yeah, so the word count is 3,500 to 4,000 words for most assignments. It does depend on the level of it and the particular qualification. Particular guidance is given on the assessment or assignment briefs that you'll receive on CMI registration, which will kind of break that word count down in more detail for you. But 4,000 is a good figure to bear in mind if you're going to kind of go ahead and write your assignments. There is a 10% swing available. So if you're a bit over, it isn't the end of the world. And it's important to say that things like your appendices, your diagrams, your context statement, all that kind of stuff isn't included in that word count. It's just the kind of body of your assignment that's important for that. So students should be aware of that, I think. But the feedback we get, and this is just the accrediting bodies, they set the word count and that's what it is, and it's the same for everybody, but it is the one thing people tend to struggle with, is trying to get under that word count when they're writing. So a bit of ironing can be required, so you might want to write your answer first and then maybe go back and chop it to bits a little bit, cut the edges off and make sure it's really on point to the question.
That's great, thank you.
Thank you very much, both James and Rachel. To view more of our CMI courses and the full range that we do offer level 5 and level 7, please visit www.inpd.co.uk. Thank you very much.